Hi, this is Rob. I'll be showing you how to do the exercises that go along with the video lesson, the distributive property. Are you ready? Let's get started. For our first problem, we need to apply the distributive property, and we're given 5 times the group x plus 3. And we need to distribute this factor of 5 to each member of this group. The first member of the group is just an x, so we need to show 5 times x. And there's more than one way to show multiplication in algebra. There's the old multiplication symbol, which isn't great because you can confuse it with an x. There's the dot multiplication symbol, which is better because you won't confuse it with any variable or any number. And you can also take advantage of the fact that multiplication is the default operation in algebra by using parentheses. I'll show you how to do that right now. So 5 times x, so we have 5, and then in parentheses x, plus, then we have 5 times 3, so we show that as 5 parentheses 3. And now we simplify, so 5 times x is 5x, plus 5 times 3 is 15. So when we distribute the factor of 5 to the group x plus 3, we get 5x plus 15. For problem 2, we need to apply the distributive property, and we're given negative 8 times the group a plus b minus c. Now this one's a little trickier because of the negative 8 and the minus c, but the rules are the same. We just have to be careful that we pay attention to the negatives and the minuses. So we'll distribute a copy of this negative 8 to each member of this group. So negative 8 times a will show as negative 8. And I'll put this in parentheses just so it's easier to keep track of. So negative 8, and then in parentheses right next to it, the a. Then we add negative 8 times b. So we have negative 8 times b. And we need to be a little careful on this step because of this minus sign. You might remember from our video on polynomials that it's often best to think of each term being added, but the term itself is either positive or negative, depending on whether it's being added or subtracted. So we'll add this next term, and we'll multiply negative 8 times negative c. And now we'll simplify. So negative 8 times a is negative 8a. Then we have negative 8 times b, which is negative 8b. So we don't need to show the plus. Remember, we'll just show the negative 8b. And now we have negative 8 times negative c. And remember, when you multiply two negatives, they cancel out and becomes positive. So that is 8c, and that will be added on the end, 8c. So when we distribute negative 8 to the group a plus b minus c, we get negative 8a minus 8b plus 8c. For problem 3, we need to apply the distributive property, and we have x times the group x plus y. And this is just like the other ones, even though it's a variable out front instead of a number. We just multiply this factor by each member of the group. So x times x, we'll show that as x, and then the other x inside parentheses, plus x times y. And now we simplify. X times x is x squared, plus, and x times y is xy. So when we distribute the factor of x to the group x plus y, we get x squared plus xy. For problem 4, we need to apply the distributive property, and we're given a times the group a squared plus a plus 1. So we just distribute this factor of a to each member of this group. So we do a times a squared plus a times a plus a times 1. And to simplify, we have a times a squared, which is a cubed, plus a times a, which is a squared, plus a times 1, which is just a. So the factor of a distributed to a squared plus a plus 1 is a cubed plus a squared plus a. For problem 5, we need to apply the distributive property, and we're given 4 times the group 3x squared plus 2x minus 5. So 4 times the first member of this group, 4 times 3x squared, plus 4 times the next member of the group, 4 times 2x, and then we have minus 5. But remember, it's better to think of each member as being added, and it's either positive or negative based on if it's a plus or minus out here. So 4 times negative 5, 4 times negative 5. And now we need to simplify. So we have 4 times 3x squared is 12x squared, plus 4 times 2x, which is 8x, and then 4 times negative 5, which is negative 20, so we put minus 20. So when this factor of 4 is distributed to this group, we get 12x squared plus 8x minus 20. For problem 6, we need to apply the distributive property, and we're given 2x times the group 3x minus 5y. So it looks a little more complicated because the factor out front is a number and a variable, but the rules work out just the same. So 2x distributed to the first member of this group is 2x times 3x. So 2x times 3x. And then we have minus here, but remember we should just think of it as plus a negative 5y. So we have plus and then 2x times negative 5y. Now to simplify, we have 2x times 3x, so it's 6x squared. And then 2x times negative 5y simplifies to a negative 10xy. So we'll put minus 10xy. So the factor of 2x distributed to the group 3x minus 5y is 6x squared minus 10xy. For problem 7, we need to apply the distributive property in reverse to factor out a 2 from this polynomial. And we have 2a squared minus 2b squared plus 2c squared. And when we apply the distributive property in reverse, instead of distributing a factor to each member of a group, we factor out the same factor from each member of a group and consolidate it, and then multiply it by the whole group at once. So our first step is to factor out a 2 from each term in this polynomial. So for 2a squared, we have 2 times a squared. Then we have minus 2b squared, which is the same as plus negative 2b squared. But remember, we want a positive 2 factored out from each thing. So we'll do plus 2, and so we need that negative to apply just to the b squared. So we have negative b squared plus, and then we have 2 times c squared. So now each one of these terms has the 2 by itself, and we can consolidate all of those into a 2, and then we make a group of the terms without the factor of 2. All of those factors of 2 have been consolidated here, and so we just need the a squared plus negative b squared, so we just put minus b squared plus c squared. So when we factor out a 2 from this polynomial, we're left with 2 times the group a squared minus b squared plus c squared. For problem 8, we need to apply the distributive property in reverse to factor out a 2 from this polynomial. We have 8a plus 10b plus 2c. Now this time, not each number part is a 2, but we can factor out a 2 from each term in this polynomial. 8a can be factored to 2 times 4a. We could also write that as 2 times 4 multiplied by a. Either way you want to show it is fine. Then we have plus, and 10b can be written as 2 times 5b plus, and then 2c, we can factor out the 2 by just putting in parentheses, even though that's not completely necessary. It helps us see that the 2 has been factored out. So we can consolidate those factors of 2, and then put the rest of the terms inside a group to be multiplied by that 2 all at once. So when the 2 is factored out of 8a, we have 4a, then plus, the 2 is factored out of 10b, we have 5b, plus, and when the 2 is factored out of 2c, we have c. So when we factor out a 2 from 8a plus 10b plus 2c, we're left with 2 times the group 4a plus 5b plus c. For problem 9, we need to apply the distributive property in reverse to factor out an x from this polynomial. And we have 7x cubed minus 8x squared minus x. So to factor out an x from our first term, we're left with x times 7x squared. And if that's not obvious, it might help to write out 7 times x times x times x. And then it's easy to see that when you factor out one of the x's, the other factor is 7x squared. Now we have this term, negative 8x squared, and we want to factor out an x. So we have plus x, and then that's going to be multiplied not by 8x, but by negative 8x. Remember, this term is negative, but we want the x to be positive, so we need to have the negative apply to the other factor. Then we have minus x, which is the same as plus negative x, but we want a positive x factored out. So we have x, and that's going to be multiplied by negative 1. And that keeps the x we're factoring out positive while not ignoring that this term is negative. The next step is to consolidate all of these factors of x into one factor of x. Then we put the terms with the x factored out inside these parentheses to show that they're being multiplied by this factor all at once. So we have 7x squared. Then we have plus negative 8x, but we can just show that as minus 8x. Then we have plus negative 1, but we can just show that as minus 1. When we factor out an x from this polynomial, it becomes 8 times the group 7x squared minus 8x minus 1. For problem 10, we're asked, can you factor anything out of this polynomial? If so, then go for it. And we have 6x squared plus 9x. And a really good way to see if you can factor anything out of a polynomial is to write out each term in that polynomial as its prime factorization. 6x squared can be written as 2 times 3 times x times x. And we're going to add it to this term, and the prime factorization of 9x is 3 times 3 times x. Then we see if we have any factors in common. And both of these terms have a factor of 3 and a factor of x. So we can factor out 3x from each term. So let's put 3x out here. And then in the parentheses, for this first term, we have 2 times x. So we have 2x plus, and for this term, once we factor out 3x, all we have is a factor of 3. So when we factor out a 3x from 6x squared plus 9x, we have 3x times the group 2x plus 3.